Hey, this is Skullgirdle, and welcome to. I said Goth is political. I meant Goth is political. Our musically based subculture has had politics in it since the beginning, and there are a lot of passive resistance things that you can do if you're not able to get out, protest, and be loud about things. Sometimes people, it's too scary or it's too much of a risk, or you physically cannot do it. We're all differently abled, we are all different people, and we all have our different ways of doing things. So I'm going to warm up to my subject here and talk about some of the things that I have seen. First of all, there's the easy sharing information, obviously. There are some nuances, though, as more and more information and news, etc., is suppressed in the US. And one thing that I've done is on Instagram, you have the thing you scroll through like five little pictures and it says whatever, and it's got information. And something that is highly suppressed in the US is, well, things happening in Minneapolis is being suppressed. Palestine is being suppressed. The truth about countries like Ghana, Mali, and Burkina Faso, who have taken over their own natural resources, they're not terrorists. They've just kicked the Westerners out. Um, Things like that you're not really going to see. So if you do see them and you do want to share them from, let's say, meta platform to meta platform, instead of getting the blank white space on your Facebook, until we can all get into safer, more less centralized social media, because social media is actually doing a lot of what it's meant to do, sharing information, etc., and supporting each other. It's really doing, along with the garbage and just blah that's out there. There's a lot of good things happening with social media. So one thing I do to get something from Instagram to Facebook when it won't share, because a lot of stuff that I share is, I can't tell if I'm looking at the camera or not. I guess this could be bad. I'm sure it's very echoey and the sound is probably terrible too, so I apologize for that. There's just nothing I can do until I can soundproof something. I don't know. Anyway, take a screenshot. If you're going from Instagram to Facebook or Facebook to Instagram, take a screenshot, including the channel where you got it, especially if they created it. If you can make sure that there's credit to the creator of it, whoever uploaded it, took the picture, made the thing, take a screenshot. But remember, if you're in the US and some other countries, your social media is being tracked now. So if that is too much and you need to go more subversive, there are other things you can do. The number one thing that you can do is build community. Get to know your neighbors. Figure out if you have neighbors that might need your support and get to know them. Do community things. Be seen in your community. If you want to be a safe person, become known as a safe person. Like you could walk your dog every night, and if you pass a neighbor, just talk to them. That's building community, y'all. You could go to a dog park and meet other dog. I have a dog. Okay, I don't have cats. I have a dog. So this is stuff that I could do here. And talk to people that you have something in common with. That's building community. And hopefully you can find other groups of people like yourself, like join a book club. You can create a book club for like minded people. You could even call it something that has nothing to do with what might be your political views, like the Garden Party Book Club. And then you read books like critical race theory and how to fight capitalism and how to not be overwhelmed with so many things happening so fast, so heinously, things like that. My personal favorite, well, I have two favorites. You can donate. If you're not worried about a paper trail, then you can donate to places like donate to Palestinians or Sudanese. You can find a lot of those places, but look for one that's vetted, y'all. Do some research before you do it. You can find actual just Palestinians in Gaza and probably the West Bank at this point, like from Rafah, which is, I don't know if there's anything left of Rafah. I also know that this is highly suppressed in the US. You are not seeing things. People do not understand how violently Israel has been treating the Palestinians for since I think 1967, and it's just escalated. October Was it October 7th, 2023? That was not the beginning of anything at all. And it is a suspicious maneuver anyway. But aside from all that, you can find Palestinians on Chuffed, but I would suggest vetting them because Chuffed and PayPal they have to be um, handled by somebody who is not a Palestinian. They're not allowed to collect their own money online. They can collect the money, but they can't do the fundraising. Yeah. There's also, if you wind up talking to somebody from Gaza and you know for sure they're from Gaza, then you might have to send Western Union. If they're in Gaza in one of those tent cities that have been flooded out and freezing, then Western Union may be the only way to send actual cash because prices of food and supplies are at least 6 times what they are anywhere else in the world. So that's specific to them. There's also Sudanese need help. I mean, let's free them all. Free Palestine, free Sudan, free Congo, free Puerto Rico, free Hawaii. These are all places that are very stressed out for the native people. Um, if you didn't know, Hawaiians are having to move away from Hawaii because it's so expensive they can't afford their native lands. If you're wondering why the hell I put that in there, and be mindful of places of propaganda. It is definitely a rebellion, and it's definitely subversive to actually learn about places like Burkina Faso, which yes, they passed some anti-LGBTQIA plus legislation that I do not like, but what I do like is that they took possession of their own resources. They're not terrorists. The Traore is not a terrorist. He kicked out the Western colonizers, being for lack of a better term, that's what we are as colonizers. And they now control their own resources. And they have built a health system and education and more transportation, etc. So be mindful that that might be what you're looking at when the propaganda comes your way and they're called terrorists, because that's not always true. There may be small bits of terrorism, like some people in Hamas, but that doesn't mean that all Palestinians are terrorists, right? And I would also suggest educating yourself on the difference between Judaism, Zionism, and Israel, because those are three different things. Let's move off of that, because probably going to get a strike on this and won't be shared out because of that. Okay, so my favorite next to donating, oh, Feeding America, that's another one. You can help feed people who don't have their SNAP benefits or who are suffering because their town or city has been infiltrated by masked kidnappers and people are afraid to go out regardless of the paperwork that they do actually have or have actually had or having done everything right. Feeding America is a reputable organization. Okay, so my favorite is actually boycotts. I've been boycotting since the Exxon Valdez, which was in the 80s, and they didn't clean up a spill properly. And I've had bought gas at Exxon only under duress, and it is less than 10 times in my entire lifetime. So I will go to every gas station. I just realized I'm doing a anxiety rock. Every gas station first. I would drill myself if I could before going to Exxon because of that. All oil companies are shit. I mean, you know, but that's just my first boycott. After that, started boycotting L'Oreal because they now say on their website, which is a crock, that they have been using non animal tested, ethically sourced products since the 80s. They have been on multiple lists for having lied about it. So they can't be trusted. To me, I'm boycotting them because they can't be trusted. So every time they buy another company, which I don't want to use Kerastase anyway, it's a ripoff to me. I'm like, crap. Well, they now own Redken, which was a brand that I liked. And then I had Curl Wow, which was an independent, and Redken bought Curl Wow. So how it works, I've been boycotting so many things for so long that I'm relatively safe. I already didn't drink very much soda. Unfortunately, the one soda I like here, Coca-Cola. We know Coca-Cola has been problematic for years since they hooked up with the Nazis in World War II. Um, but there are alternatives. There's always a natural soda out there to drink. There's a lovely German company, Fries, something like that. They do a rhubarb soda, and seventh heaven, y'all. That stuff was amazing. But how it works and how I do it is when there's a product that I'm interested in and I don't know it, I look to see who owns it. And usually it says like it's like Joe's popcorn. And it says, Joe's popcorn. Oh, I'm going to tell you an exact one I did. There is Portuguese potato chips are just, I think, the best. Oh God, I love Portuguese potato chips. They are so good. Batatas fritas, so good. So there's a brand here, and I realized I was like, I don't want to have Frito Lay. I don't want Pepsi and Frito Lay. I mean, Pepsi burned Michael Jackson's head, so screw them anyway. But Frito Lay is on my boycott list, which sucks because I love Bugles and Sun Chips. Um, so I was looking for alternatives, and the only thing that I could find was plain potato chips or store brands that looked like they were probably made by Frito Lay. So there's a brand called, I think it's Palitos, Pala Pala. And it's this bag, it's red on the top and bottom with some white and then clear. And they're Portuguese potato chips, and they do the little matchstick potatoes, which are very popular here, and Brazil both, which means that there are lots of options. That's awesome. And they were my favorite. They were just my favorite, But they're really great for a bacalhau brash or just to eat because I've always loved those little picnic sticks. So one day I'm sitting here and I was like, okay, well, I think I'm safe with salty snacks. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm just going to look them up just to make sure. They're Portuguese, made in Portugal. It says it on the bag. They're owned by Frito Lay. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So then I went on a little tour of the interwebs and looked for a Portuguese company not owned by a giant company I'd ever heard of, or just Portuguese potato chips. You just got to start at the bottom level. So I'm like, okay, batatas fritas, because that's I'm in Portugal. They speak Portuguese here. It's easier to find stuff that way. So I go to let's just lean in. I probably should have done this to begin with. So I go and look up potato chips, and I don't remember there's a brand called Amanhecer and a brand called Asaluinha. So I looked them up and I couldn't quite figure out Amanhecer. They're very good. I can get those across the street at one of the cafes. But I looked up a brand called Asaluinha and I looked who owns them. Asaluinha. Okay. So I start searching in different ways. Who owns this chip brand? Who blah 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 blah. Well, it turns out that Asaluinha, I couldn't get any further because that is a family-owned business inside of Portugal. So I did a rich people thing. And y'all, seriously, rich people things, what I mean by rich is that I can afford to pay my bills every month and have a little bit of entertainment money. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about my bills. That's a rich people thing to me. I don't mean millionaires. I don't mean super rich. I mean, you can buy in bulk. That's all I mean is you can afford to buy in bulk. So I couldn't find anywhere in town that I could see that I could find a Saluina. There's Montana and the Pala Pala is everywhere. So I ordered from A Saluina, which was a risk because I never had that brand. And it turns out that I chose right because that brand is family owned. They're known for their generosity. I have a friend who actually had visited them and wound up with an ad hoc tour. I was like, how did this happen? They went on a school tour and they actually showed them the factory and more. They had more. It was like a bonus tour or whatever. So, and they sent them all home with little bags of chips. Well, they happen to be wonderful. And they make a traditional Portuguese style potato chip that is a little bit more expensive and a bigger serving than I should be eating, but they're so good. I don't eat plain potato chips in the US. I might eat baked legs. Ha! That was Freudian. Baked lays or barbecue lays, but like I would be eating Utz if I ate anything in the US, some small brand. If I ever come back to the US at this point, I haven't been there in a year and a half. So I bought the family owned because I am boycotting Frito Lay. And that's the point is you look who owns this thing, who owns this thing, who owns this thing, and start small. Just start small. It's really easy to start with one thing that you don't do. And once you're used to that, you found replacements, all sorts of stuff. There are also lots of resources. There are several out on Instagram. I cannot remember what any of them are. I don't follow them because I generally don't need them for anything except for apps trying to get away from Google. Like Vala is a phone company in Europe that I can get that uses Linux. It'll use a Linux phone or operating system, sorry. So those are my suggestions that are easy. Then there's the petty. Like cats on a couch, which is an Instagram, cats on a couch, with the sole purpose of having more followers than JD Vance. And they super hate JD Vance. So people all over the world have made wanted posters for JD Vance for various different reasons. They sat out while he was driving by in England with a blow up pink sofa. Or no, that was Nantucket because they went to Nantucket Island and Cats on a Couch. And I think they're in or close to Nantucket. So things like that, wanted posters, things that you could actually just staple up at night that don't really hurt anybody. A sign on a public corner, just expressing something. Be annoying. There was one protest that was done with like 100 people bought a single bottle of glue and then returned it. I believe that was at a Target. I would never go to a Target because Target turned its back on their Black American customers. And I'm like, what? What is wrong with you? What is wrong? Why would you do that? I'm sorry, why would you get rid of DEI anyway? It's being demonized by people who are too dumb to understand what the hell it is to begin with. You know what? I'm not free till we're all free. I'm not equal till we're all equal. Until we're all equal, nobody is equal. If you're wanting political views, there you go. Anyway, yeah, there's some real creative stuff. There's been yarn bombing. I mean, you could take a Sharpie to t-shirts if you don't mind being seen in public, but there's some people that there's a large amount of risk and they're okay with that. And some people when there's a smaller amount of risk and they're not okay with that. You have to go with what is right for you because I think we're at the point where those of us who are, we'll call it dissatisfied, but I very much understand we're living a dystopian frickin' nightmare right now. You got to do something. You got to take care of yourself, get enough water, do your best to try to get some rest, tune the hell out once in a while, read a paper book. It's amazing. Go back to the old days. Teach yourself some dance steps. I personally am on a Michael Jackson kick, so I'm teaching myself some Michael Jackson dance steps really for flexibility and strength, y'all. That's all. So, yeah, just take care of yourself, build community, and do what you need to do to subvert the system. Passive resistance. Passive resistance does so much more than you think. Watch what's happening with MAGA. Just watch what they're reacting to and how much they're freaking out at these itty bitty little things. Together, we are very strong. And remember, because I don't know if I said this at the beginning of the video, I like to say this as much as possible. You are more than one label. You are many labels, and you are more than your labels. You are greater than the sum of your parts. And together, we are even greater, and we can do great things. So, hey, thanks for watching. Until next time.